What's up, everyone? How are we doing? Good morning. This is episode 22 of our breakfast training talk. I got my coffee with me. Hope you all are doing well. And I want to jump right into it. By the way, before I jump into it, if you guys like this discussion and whatever, feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And comment below what you want to hear talked about next. Today we're talking about rate of force development. And what is it? And specifically, the significance of it in regards to training. So rate of force development is pretty self-explanatory. It simply means the speed at which you produce force. So if we think about force application into the ground, when we run, we push into the ground and that propels us forward or upwards or whatever direction we decide to go. It happens over a given period of time. And so there's intervals. So you can think about the y-axis of the time, or the y-axis, sorry, the amount of force we produce into the ground, and the x-axis is time. We have a little graph like this. Now, that time segment here, let's just say it's about 300 milliseconds. Within that, there is different segments of that time interval, maybe 100 milliseconds, and 100 to 200, and 200 to 300. And during those time intervals, force is being produced, but the explanation of how that force is being produced is, well, credited to different areas of the body. For example, the earlier portion of rate of force development, that earlier time period in which force is being applied to the body, is often attributed to the nervous system. So if I have my y-axis, my x-axis, and as I push into the ground with my feet, I produce force, and we pretend we have a thing on the ground that measures how much force we're pushing the ground. You'll see a curve, and that initial time period is responsible, or is force being produced that is responsible or credited to the nervous system, that initial rate of force development, especially in the earlier stages. The later we go on, it's more contributed by the fiber types and the size of the muscle and the strength of the muscle. But earlier on, rapid rate of force development is, being done because the nervous system activates quickly, and because, again, if the nervous system activates, it has to transfer the muscle contraction through the tendon, and there is some tendon stiffness involved there as well. So early rate of force development predominantly is contributed by nervous system activation, but there is some tendon stiffness as well, but we'll ignore that for the sake of today, because I want to talk about how do you train that. How do you train the ability to rapidly activate your muscles so in the early stages of movement you can produce lots of force fast? Because again, if we're limited in sport by time, the time our foot is on the ground, the time we can move, we understand that portion of that movement is being produced by this early stage in which we produce force, and therefore early stage rate of force development holds some significance. So how do we train that? Good question. Well, research has showed that intent plays a very large role. Before I dive into that, we need to say, well, what is intent? Intent does not mean to have, like, some people have argued with me that's a poor choice of words. So intent simply means moving something at the maximal volitional and maximal obtainable speed it can be moved, or maximal volitional effort, just trying to move it really fast, move it the quickest you can, because that's activating the nervous system to then, produce force rapidly. And in essence, one can even argue that training with intent, the intent to move something quickly and rapidly, is teaching the skill of early stage rate of force development, that rapid transmission and development of force. And again, that's a key principle, because again, it's been studied and looked at, and they say, look, early stage rate of force development, the main contributor to that is the nervous system, unlike the muscular system. And so if it's the nervous system, we can argue, well, what is the nervous system? Well, they say it's the rate at which these impulses are traveling down the neurons to activate the muscle fibers. And we can say, well, is that a skill? Is it almost like your body's ability to activate it in your own volitional ability? Or is it like the wiring in a house and the actual neurons changes take place within them? And there's probably some factors of both, but we know the only way to activate that quickly is if we have a high level of intent. So what does this mean for training? It means we might want to look at how we move. Are we moving quickly, rapidly, a twitchy individual? Because arguably there are some means to assess whether or not we do have a good ability to actually produce early stage rate of force development. Typically that's measured through an unloaded movement and the max velocity you could obtain with it. But on top of that, you could also then say, well, I don't know how to assess it, but I know it's important, so I want to move things quickly and rapidly. I want to be able to move things with intent. And so when you practice jumping, for example, maybe you want to try methods where you consciously activate your muscles quickly, attempting to not just jump high, but be quick and explosive with it. Doing things like plyometrics could be useful because that reflex activates muscles quickly. But again, I think it does come down to a lot of the volitional effort, which volition means your voluntary effort to actually activate muscle fibers quickly. So again, early stage rate of force development, there's different types of rate of force development. There's kind of early stage and late stage. That later stage is more muscular dominant. That early stage is more neurological. Neurological aspect is improved by improving the rate at which we send impulses to the muscle. Those impulses are controlled by our central nervous system, that is our brain. It's our ability to have high levels of volitional effort to actively try to move something rapidly could be significant in the way we improve this area of neurophysiological aspects of training. I hope it makes sense. I hope you guys enjoy. I appreciate you listening. I'm going to drink my coffee here. If you guys like these podcasts, whatever the heck they are, morning talks, feel free to comment below. Like them, subscribe, share. Appreciate y'all and have a good day.